All right. Indeed, a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Tackle. It is a Tuesday. It is a Tuesday of 13 July 2021. Tarehe 13 mwezi wa 7 mwaka 2021. I'm happy to see you again, guys. Hope you've been doing well. It's good to be back. Karibu on The Tackle. I request that when you join in, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and that you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is The Tackle, the State of the Nation edition with Bob NJAGI, the Mwafrika Kenya Initiative, na Governor MUCHENdu all the way from Kiba. Tatuambia Kiba kuna nini pale. Governor MUCHENdu is a governor expert. We're going to have a discussion today on the state of the nation as usual. We discuss the legal happenings, all the political happenings and the administrative happenings of the week within the region and also within the country. I request on joining, please like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. Kama kawaida, lazima twende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be here. We thank you for this show. We thank you for another day. We thank you for the tacklers who have joined us this morning. We thank you for the conversations that you're going to have. We thank you for this country. And we thank you for the leadership that we have as we start having this conversation. May it edify the fabric of this nation. As you start up with us, when we finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. In Jesus' mighty name I pray and believe. Amen and amen. Haya, asante sana. Good to see you guys. Naona kuna watu wameamuka salama tayari sana mapema. Naona tutasema welcome back. Jina asante sana. Mungu alita continue our morning team tackle tuning in from Convent United Kingdom. It's good to be back and be part of this morning show. Thanks, asante sana. Collins Kipchirchir, daktari mwenyewe, good morning. Tackle nimeingia wa kwanza tuned in from Kabenes. Pole sana umeingia wa mwisho pale chini. Good to see you. Kiblandui Kipkwech Larry, good morning. Aminel Doret, asante sana. Jimmy Gakio, good morning. Jumba Kipto Ian, good morning. GB watching from South Africa. The guys from South Africa, what's going on, Bana? The guys from the place, let us know what is going on in South Africa. It's good to see you. Jeplap Kibri Reds, good morning, GB. Good morning to you, Jeplap Kibri Reds. Mutwa Yuda, amane UDA. Muso JB. Good morning, tuned in from Donoma. Santa Sana Gakife, good morning, watching from Thika. Santa, good to see you. Honorable Ike Kurgat, good morning, tuned in from Eldoret. McMay, fellow Felix, mwenye pass my regards to my greetings to my president, Bob NJAGI. Lower Eastern is watching, and Free Kenya movement is only for Kenyans. Asante Karoki Wamasi. Welcome back, Rais. Well tuned in from Kayola. Asante, good to see you. Sekli Masai, all the way from Narok. Asama straight to be back. Straight out of Narok. Gote Mushendu ni msewa ushago kwetu Thigio. Aya, asante. Bado nikona nini yako hapa kidogo. Bado nimeivaa kabisa. Kilonzo James, good morning. Fully tuned in. Ask Bob NJAGI what dream does he holds for Kenya and where does he see Kenya in the next 10 years in terms of politics, infrastructure and technology. Gitonga Kinyanja. Good to see you, Mutwa Idhini na kuona. Stephen Flames Leon Tomaga anasema tuned in from Thika. Asante. Jacqueline Chebichi tuned in from Kiambu. David Kitut, good morning, tuned in from Kapsabet. McMay fellow friends naona Make Free Kenya Initiative. Kimbia pale www.freekenyasignatures.com. Weke signature yako, endorsement ya Free Kenya. Usikia watu wanasemaje kwa Kenya. Joseph Makumi Munga governor, getting you loud and clear. Asante, good to see you. Dorin Chebet, good to see you. Good morning. Emmanuel Serem, my brother, good to see you. Moses Kabene Nyigareta, Isaac Seremo Mamusha, Collins Gibet. Good morning, GB. It's been a while. Good to see you. We thank God for this. Tuned in from Kericho. Asante sana, my brother. Sakli Masai Niko, representative watu wa Narok. Asante. Emmanuel Serem Jeplap Kibiri Reta Mamusho Hali B Hali. Credible. Asante. Good to see you. Cleanso James Siaya County wako ndani. Purity Tanui. Good morning, everyone watching from Dubai pamoja. Good to see you, Purity. Building well in Dubai. Abel Okech. Good morning from Eldoret. Asante. Kiproke Vic, good morning, sir. Good morning to David Maru from Alberta, Canada. Good to see you. The weather is also improving in Alberta, Canada. Please, when you join in, when you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and that I like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. But it for that, good morning, team. Ronnie Giggs, and some good morning, Ashak the Tackle, Ever Jeff Kema, Moshimel, Geo Marakwet. Good morning, General. Welcome back. Asante sana. Good to see you. Thanks also for checking on me. Collins Kipchirchir, good morning. Kabenes Ambassador, have a good day. Yeah. But it for that, Kilimani Tukondani, Cheriat Glovers, good morning, JB. Chepchirir Kuto, good to see you. Good morning, welcome back to Team from Eldoret. Asante sana. Moses Kebenenji Ganet, good morning, karibu sana. UDA campaigns in Kiamba ilifinya Jubilee. Haya, tutajua Mshendu atatuambia nini, kuna nini pale Kiamba. Kiproti Chemurok, I like from Narok, good morning, team. Good morning to see you. Shara Shani all the way from Western, tuned in Mtuango. Asante sana. Nicholas Ngetich, good morning. Bitok, Gerald Bitok, Maina Wanjogi, New Jersey logged in. Asante sana. Gamaliel Babayao, good morning. GB watching from Karen. Asante sana, Maina. Good to see you, my brother. Hey, we missed you, bana. Good to see you. Samuel Washira from Samburu. Asante sana tuwa Samburu. Mwai Katunga from within initiative from Nakuru. Asante sana. Kiproke Vic, tuned from Shiraz, Iran. Asante tuwa to Iran. Kiproke good morning. Chamge to brand. Good morning 027. Asante. Askwala Nyawira, good morning. Sir, good morning to you. Vola Philip Good morning, everyone watching from Kaawa West. Kaletum, good to see you, my brother. Samuel Kigera, Tina Tindra, all the way. Good to see you, my brother, all the way from diaspora. It's good to see you, Koima Moses. Good morning, Chief from Eldoret. Asante sana. Koima, nawaambia wazazi bana, hongera sana. Congratulations to your parents who are retiring over the weekend. I think I got a glimpse of that. Congratulations to them. Hongera to them. Waambie, mimi kama rais wao. Naambia hongera sana kwa kazi ambayo ameweza kufanyia wa Kenya. Thank you so much. Proud regards to your family. Honorable Felix Muammar Gaddafi, welcome back on air. Santa B Arab Rongo, hey, Bitok, bring Dr. Isaac Olechier on the tackle. He's coming in. Dr. Isaac Olechier all the way from Brongo is coming in this week, so you gotta stay tuned for the man who stood and said he was going to defend the constitution. Aliita Rais Uhuru Kenyatta employee number 1. Wakenya bana muogope. Wangai Carlos, good morning. General Bito from Elbago na Santa Papa Isaka anakuwa na mtoto wa kifalme Musica za from Kibwezi UDN Kondani Yordinga. Good job, asante sana. Nicholas Ngetich back on air. Great bwana General Bito, good to see you. Blessings brilliant be what, good to see you. Haya, narudia alafu simu niwashia hapo ndio tuanze mambo ya State of the Nation. Jane Mumbe, good morning. #Tetackle, good to see you. Hey, Jane Mumbe ulinitafuta mpaka mashinani bwana. Nilitafutwa mpaka na chief akasema kuna mtu anaitwa Jane Mumbi by Jane Safaris by Jane, anatafuta anasema ati natafuta huko Nairobi. Anyway, Pomjagi, good to see you.
Thank you very much, Gerald, for hosting us again.
It's been a year. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, we're doing very well. I'm very humbled to be here once more on this brilliant show.
Karibu sana. For the people maybe who could be watching you for the first time, maybe I don't give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell them what you do and why you do it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob NJAGI. I'm one of the leaders in the Free Kenya movement.
Okay.
Free Kenya movement is a movement of change that was brought forward in 2018 as a result of the situation in the country, whereby we felt that there was need for Kenyans to come together and present a solution to the current crisis in the country. We had issues regarding economic injustice, talking about double taxation, undue taxation. That was the beginning of the genesis of Free Kenya, when we led Kenyans to go in 2018 to protest against the finance bill that introduced VAT on petrol and making life difficult for the ordinary citizens. That was a point when we came together and said that we need to initiate a popular initiative so that we can amend the Constitution of Kenya to conform with the wishes of the people. And from then on, we began the Free Kenya initiative. And until now, we have so far collected over 800,000 signatures across the country. 800,000.
1, 2, 3, 4, 800,000.
Yes. For the last 3 years, we have been on this. And we are hopeful that by the end of this exercise, we are going to have an endorsement of over 3 million Kenyans. Countrywide who will support the initiative.
So what's the end game? You're looking for how many? For 3 million signatures for what? What do you want to do with it?
The 1 million signatures is a requisite by
The Constitution
and Article 257 for any promoter of a popular initiative. But we are collecting the signatures online and offline, and as such, we have to collect more than the requisite signatures. It's just that we are able to ensure we have enough that is required. The purpose of collecting these signatures is so that we comply with Article 257 of the Constitution and to propose amendments to the current 2010 Constitution so that we can make our Constitution better, not to trash it, but actually to empower and to enhance the gains that we've already had and seen. We have issues with, for instance, we have issues with the structure of devolution. We want to enhance resources to the county government upwards to 35%. We have issues to do with inclusivity. So we have come up with amendments to empower the youth, the women, the persons living with disability through representation in parliament. We have issues to do with the independent commissions. And these are issues that cannot be amended in parliament. We're talking about IEBC. We are now facing a general election in the next 1 year. And up to now, we have not done any serious reforms that will ensure that we have a free and fair, credible election in 2022. The only way we can alter any electoral law is by a popular initiative. So as Free Kenya, we have some proposals we have made in our bill that are going to ensure that we have a smooth and free and fair election. Over and above that, there are so many issues that we have canvassed in our bill. and I'd advise our listeners to log on to www.freekenyasignatures.com and read through the Free Kenya Constitutional Bill 2020. And there's a lot there in there, yes.
Okay. So everyone is trying to amend the constitution, but we are saying we defend it. So why are you not just supporting BBI? It's saying 35% is talking about inclusivity. I mean, why is it that everyone wants to amend the constitution in their own corner?
Okay, you see, the 2010 constitution provided a way through which ordinary citizens can participate in amending the constitution. And one way of exercising Article 1.1, which is direct representation, is through a popular initiative. The purpose which we are not supporting BBI essentially is not because of some of the proposals they have are not bad proposals.
Okay.
But our issue was with the way BBI was brought to Kenyans. The 2010 constitution envisaged that the process of a popular initiative should start with the people.
Okay.
In this case, BBI is a state-driven initiative.
Okay.
It is sponsored, it is powered, it is engineered, it is authored by none other than the president.
Okay.
The president, by so doing, I think, went outside the mandates, or rather the defines of the constitution to promote that initiative.
So your only problem is the person who is promoting it?
You see, fundamentally, if the process is wrong, then the outcome cannot be correct. However good the proposals are in BBI, the fact that the president used state resources to promote and to change the constitution of Kenya is unconstitutional. It is null and void.
Okay.
As to the proposals therein in the BBI report, I think about 50 to 60% of the proposals therein are agreeable even to us as Free Kenya. For instance, when you talk about 35% for devolution, that is okay. Those are things that Kenyans want to enhance devolution. But when you talk about enhancing or enlarging the executive, that is something we do not support.
That's inclusion.
It is not really inclusion, because inclusivity is including the people, not including a few individuals. All right? The real inclusivity is what we are proposing in Free Kenya. For instance, we have a proposal to include young people in the representation of this country. Every county will be electing a youth representative to represent the interest of the young people in their county. Okay. Every county will be electing a representative of persons living with disability to represent them in parliament. So when you talk of inclusivity, we're talking of inclusivity of sectors of societies, not individuals, not tribes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are going to have, according to Free Kenya, we are going to have everybody now in government.
We are creating.
I want to talk about NJAGI anyway. Even as we move forward, as we try to shift this to another angle. The question is, I mean, when we talk about inclusivity, I mean, why? How do? Because still you cannot have everybody in government.
It is
even
possible.
Free Kenya, you're saying a few people.
No, actually, it is possible.
How is it possible?
One of the things we are proposing fundamentally to restructure the state is to, Article 1 says that all sovereign power is vested in the people. And we the people can choose to exercise this power either directly or indirectly. Now, what Free Kenya is doing, we are proposing to introduce a fourth arm of government called the People's Government. Now, in the People's Government, which has been tried before in Makueni County, the people themselves will be part and parcel of a structure of governance. Right? Okay. So by so doing, we shall be including the people in the day-to-day running of their affairs, from the village level to the national level. Okay. Yeah, so it is possible actually to create a government of, for, and by the people, and we have done that in the Free Kenya Popular Initiative. Okay. Yes. All
right, we'll be waiting to see what you guys have in store. Well, I mean, let's hope we're going to have a better constitution until someone else wants to amend it. Yes, even me, I'm also going to start another initiative.
Yeah, as a Kenyan, you're allowed to initiate a popular initiative.
All right. Yes. So what should you expect in case Free Kenya initiative passes? What should we expect to say differently? Yes, in the coming days, you're looking at the referendum, for instance?
Of course. Once we get the 1 million and above signatures, the next thing is that we are proposing to to call for a national convention at the Bomas of Kenya.
Okay.
That is going to bring in other stakeholders, the civil society, religious organizations, the political players, so that we can discuss the Free Kenya Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 before we present it to IBC for signature verification. So what we want to do is to include everybody on board, unlike the other process that was a bit exclusive. We have been doing this purely driven by the members of Free Kenya, who are ordinary citizens. But a time has come that we need, and we call upon all Kenyans to join us in this struggle, because we're not changing the constitution for ourselves, but for the posterity of all Kenyans. I think the courts were very clear that the process of a referendum ought to start with the people. We are doing what actually is supposed to be done in the country constitutionally. My brother Ekuru Okot, with the Punguza Mizigo initiative, he also did very well trying to come up with a popular initiative. Unfortunately, it died an untimely death in the county assembly. So we have seen the hurdles that he faced, and we are preparing ourselves to ensure that we don't go through or we don't fall. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. All right. Good to see you, Muchendu.
I've missed the taco, man.
Ulisahau majengo.
Hapana bana. You know. I would want to tell the viewers that you failed in your duty as the host to let them know that I asked for a leave of absence from you.
That was a problem. By the way, we did not announce. Next time,
we did not announce.
We'll make a public announcement.
I took an leave of absence to concentrate on Kiamba. And we are doing good in Kiamba.
You're doing well in Kiamba, bari ya Kiamba.
Yeah, Kiamba iko sawa. Unajua tunasaidia candidate wa UDA. John Jogona Wanjiko is a member, our Hustler Nation candidate. Okay. And when we started on a very raw note. But the heading is just awesome. It's just fantastic. Our exit polls, we are doing our exit polls today. And normally we do two types of exit poll. Okay. We are doing it after the close of the official campaign. That's what we are doing today. And then we will do now an actual exit poll on the day of polling. Talking to people after they have voted, know how they voted, because one of the major problems in the Kenyan polling system is that people have failed to use scientific methods to do polling. You just sit somewhere at an office in Nairobi, develop a data press and declare Bitoka 72% without the actual polling
on the ground
done. So what we have done, we have the actual register of Kiamba, about 96,000 voters. Okay. We have their contacts, those who may have changed their numbers. We have deployed people on the ground to collect information about voters. Okay. Then we talk to them directly without telling them we are from which party. And the system would send a message to each and every voter. If you are not a voter in Kiamba, you cannot receive that text. Once you receive that message, it is giving you the short code where you actually send the name of the person you'll be voting for. Okay. So this is what has been guiding us every week. We have been doing a poll every Friday, so that it helps us plan the following week. Where are we week? What do we need to do? Why is it that we are down? And that is what has propelled Wanjiko to be reading in all wards, including the impossible one they said, Kihara ward, where the Jubilee candidate comes from. Today we are reading him with 7 points. And if election were to be held today, Kawanjiko would win with 66%. 66%. Okay. At least that is in accordance with a scientific poll done. And it is being done by a call center of about 400 people.
Oh,
who are doing that work. Okay. We are doing in an election, especially in a by-election. You win a by-election on 3 things, and I'll tell you. out of those three things in a by-election, programs of development is not necessarily one of them for your information. So
and that was actually my next question, because there's been some concern that the Kiambaa by-election is not about the people of Kiambaa. It's a supremacy war.
There is no by-election that is ever about the people of where it's being. Let's be realistic.
So the by-elections in Kiambaa is not about the people
The
of Kiambaa.
by-elections in Kiambaa, as much as they are about candidates, because at the end of the day, it is candidates in Kiambaa that are participating. It is also about being 1 year to the general election. It is also going to shape how 2022 is, because politics perception is a very important ingredient in politics. So when you want to win a by-election, which I have told you, it is not necessarily about the issues of development. It is necessarily about the issues of what do people need, because naturally when you have a by-election, especially 4 years after the general election, you can bet that today this nation and the people of Kenya are already tired of the administration of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. How much more do you expect them not to be tired of the administrative nature of a constituency where a member of parliament has not performed? Koinange was a member of the deep state, so they call it. He was a member of deep state. He was a chairman of the National Security. Nation is the administration and national security. In fact, in the parliamentary standing orders, it is committee number 1. Koinange was the chair, who was a member of parliament in Kiambaa. One of Bitok, I'm sure you have taken a stroll in Kiambaa, being interested in politics. You are. I may not have been there, but I have been told you have been seen looming around. And
I was doing my own. I was doing my own polls also.
Forget speaking to people. Look at the state of the infrastructure in Kiambaa. As a person who has been there genuinely, you cannot Kehara, Gashie, Livarori, there are potholes that can actually swallow you. The road from Livarori going all the way to Gasharaga is a total mess. The road moving from Gashie coming all the way to the western bypass that is being made is a clear mess. In the entire Kiambaa Bitok, there has not been water connection. In fact, through the help of Earth Water, the first connection of water coming from Tigoni is now being finalized. There was no water in Kiambaa. In Kiambaa, of all the constituencies, there is not TVET in Kiambaa constituency. Therefore, coupling all these things together, you would expect the members of public in Kiambaa are less interested on the promises on development, because a person who has been part of the ruling party and an integral part of that government was a member of parliament, and he terribly failed. And that is one of the main undoing of the Jubilee candidate. You associate yourself with a party that has terribly failed, a party that is being sent to political oblivion. And that is the party you want people to elect you with. So therefore, in an election, in a by-election, you win with 3 things, and nobody should lie to you otherwise. You win by creating, number 1, euphoria. Create a euphoria. A euphoria naturally comes with slogans and campaign songs. That's the first business you do in a by-election. Something Jubilee has terribly failed. How do you go and take someone like Ben Gedhaye, who sang the same song that has synced this country into where it is today, and still have him do the song for the Jubilee candidate? I mean, people need to get creative. That was one of the major problems for Jubilee. They use the same old tricks and expect different result. It can never happen, won't happen, can't happen. That is number 1. Create a euphoria, comes with slogan and campaign song. Number 2, you run what is called an effective campaign. This is a well-structured campaign. You do not have Bitok roaming around Kiambaa saying that he is campaigning. Roaming is not campaigning. You are just moving about. But the only thing Bitok can do is come and do a sampling and then leave. But a structured campaign Bitok, I'll tell you, for the last 27 days Bitok, I have not left a single polling station. For your information, I've been sent to a single polling station. I have a team of about 20 people I work with. My responsibility when I wake up in the morning, it is to revolve around the 1,000 registered voters in that polling station. That is my work every day. When I get to Kiamba, it is my polling station, my polling station. I have no business to be seen in another polling station.
Okay.
So you learn a structured campaign. That is, give people work and give them, tell them what are the deliverables. You don't just have people roaming. Jubilee on Saturday, they converged about 700 youths who are not from Kiamba at one of a former member of Koinange family who was a candidate, has a restaurant there. Converged 700. I think 700 youths. And then they kept shouting on social media that 5,000 strong. My friend, watu wa Jubilee kwani wanafikiria hatujui kuhesabu watu bwana. Hii biashara tulianza kitambo. You cannot converge people, transport people as far as Ndeya. Bring people as far as Nyandarua.
But you also come from Ndeya, so you are transported from Ndeya.
Listen, I am in Kiamba. In the entire team of 30 people I am working with in my polling station, Bitok, I am the only stranger in Kiamba. I am working with the Rockers. My sole responsibility is to give guidance, over direction for an effective campaign. You do not transport people to come and create a poor perception. That is lying to the candidate that he has the massive support of the youth, only to discover that these youths were transported from elsewhere to be given 1,000 shillings to come and show the photos you saw on the weekend moving around. I invite you to look at the photos. You will know so many faces because you have been in politics for a very long time. You will know so many faces and they are not from Kiamba.
Okay.
The only team, I'll tell you, the only members of our team that are strangers in Kiamba, they are 34, because we have 34 polling centers, Bitok.
Okay.
And those 34 polling centers, we have people we can trust, we have people we can work with. Their work is to work with the Rockers and actually help the Rockers on how they will do campaign to convince their fellow locals to select and go and vote for a candidate.
Okay.
So it is not like you are paying. Can you imagine unatoa watu 25 kwa basi kutoka Ndeya? Unawaweka kofia hapo and then unawaitia Mogithi hapo with kina Mogithi Mogithi Stars, Kikuyu Mogithi Stars. You go and create a fake music extravaganza telling Kiamba that the Jubilee candidate has support. This is the idiocy of the highest order that needs to stop. If the Jubilee Youth Caucus is going to continue doing this nonsense, in fact, they are the one who are creating a safe and a quick pathway for Jubilee to political oblivion. I will tell you that outright. So the third part of winning an election, Bitok, is you secure your votes. Now that is not something we can actually discuss here. That is now I cannot.
We should discuss it here. How are you securing?
No. Why should you discuss it here? It is.
So why are you discussing everything else?
The poll is on Thursday. Securing the votes is part of the internal matters that are not to be conversed in public. That is, it will be seen on that day how we intend to actually protect our votes. At this point, I would want to thank IEBC because we have done a series of meetings with IEBC, both for Mogoga Ward and for Kiamba. Every time we ask them for a meeting for clarification, they have been there to actually take us through. And we believe that IEBC is committed to actually doing a free and fair and credible elections, despite the nonsense by Jubilee, deep state, what. I will tell you, Bitok, election is not stolen by IEBC.
Who steals elections?
Election is not stolen by your opponents. Election is stolen by your lousy, lazy agents who do not do their job perfectly.
So elections actually stolen?
No. Let me tell you. Bitok, if you put MUCHENDU in a class, someone who understands what is required of him to actually, being an agent in a classroom is not just staying there and just gazing at people. It is actually knowing the entire process from A to Z. So these are some of the things that we are taking into consideration. Okay. You remember the Jubilee operatives at Juja, at DEB, JKUAT, DEB Primary. They brought fake ballots. They wanted to staff them. And I say this without fear of contradiction. They were in a GK vehicle. Okay. They were read by a senior police officer in Kiambu. We have written statements. Those of us who are actually in charge of JKUAT DB, we wrote a statement to that effect. Okay. And therefore, we do not expect Jubilee to repeat the same thing in Juja. We actually expect them to perfect that art of trying to staff ballots. So we are equally prepared for them. We are not using the same tactics we used in Juja. We are using a different approach, a different tactic. Na hiyo siku ikifika tu watajua. Otherwise, we have an open membership for Hustler Nation for Karedi Njama. Once he loses on Thursday, we have...
you has an Hustler anyways. Once Hustler, always Hustler.
You remember the story of the prodigal son in the Bible. You know, Karedi Njama is a member of the Hustler Nation at heart. Okay. He actually hosted the DP a few months ago at Kiamba, where the DP spent about 2.5 million shillings with his programs. Okay. He just saw an opportunity, and the opportunist in him just came out, and he jumped into the bandwagon of Jubilee. And today, Karedi Njama, looking into this camera, I'll tell you outrightly, I wish you are an independent candidate. You would have given us a land for our money. But the fact that you are in Jubilee, mashida yote ya Jubilee, the taxes they are bringing, my bank is telling me they will actually task my loan. Man, unaniwekea tax ya 20% ya loan. Asijaanza kulipa loan na interest ya bank.
So shida yenu sio Kareri, shida yenu ni Jubilee.
No, let me tell you. Okay. In this country, party ideologies is what govern this nation be talking.
Which party ideology?
No, I'm telling you.
Tell me about any party ideology that runs this country.
On the books, the party ideologies are supposed to govern this country. Okay. We elected Jubilee on 4 pillars, which they have terribly failed. In fact, they Uhuru corrupts all the pillars and concentrate on the nonsense called BBI, which has abruptly been stopped by the courts. Okay. And in fact, the next barrio after the barrio of Jubilee in Kiamba, the next barrio is BBI. We are taking it to political oblivion. And I'll tell my brother here, because I have heard they have an initiative of amending this constitution. I will still insist, and I have insisted here be talk. I will never support an amendment of the constitution before we develop what is called a referendum law. There is no country in the world that has successfully amended the constitution without first of all creating a referendum law. A referendum law, by the way, does not need a referendum itself. It needs this parliament to be proactive. It needs this parliament to take responsibility as it is charged by the constitution to registrate a referendum law that governs how we do the referendum. Otherwise, any other referendum we do in this country, apart from the one that we promulgated, the Constitution 2010 Bitok, will be mad with legalities. So we need to create a referendum law that governs how we do a referendum in this country. Okay. It does not make sense to bring a referendum initiative without a law governing it, because they may have a set of proposals be talked. Some are good, some we may not agree with them. That referendum law comes to actually create a process of separating the different amendment they want to amend. So that we learn away from these back and forth I have seen on media with the MPs, that we can have a series, a couple of questions, put multiple questions, a single question. These are issues that will be well addressed and canvassed in a referendum law. Okay. So therefore, before they bring their issues, can we robe our members of parliament parliament, and if we were to join hands with them, we will look for a member of parliament from our Hasra nation that is going to do a private member's bill on bringing a referendum question, so that when we go to do, because I am telling you, I agree with them. Constitutional is the constitutional amendments or our constitution today. It is not cast on stone, be talk. It is a document that continues to be refined as we grow as a nation, as we get more needs. We have to amend our constitution so that it can correspond with our needs. It can realign with the Kenya that we have today, because the Kenya we have today is not the Kenya that was there 5 years ago. So therefore, a constitution is a progressive document that requires to be realigned with the current affairs of the nation. But for us to do that, let's do a referendum question, because some of the things that they are proposing cannot be amended in parliament.
All right. Finally, on Kiamba, as I throw it back to NJAGI, the by-election is on Wednesday?
The by-election is on Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
So what should we expect on Thursday?
I'm expecting, number one, that the state will not use the police to actually cause havoc in the by-election. We have given our commitment as the Hustler Nation be talk that one, no member of parliament will be seen around Kiamba on the election day. No one will be roaming. And we have also asked the IEBC to ensure that the same is reciprocated from the other side, because we do not want where the case members of parliament are seen and they are seen to be causing chaos. So that one, we expect the police to do their work diligently. Number two, and this is very important, and I will be addressing this to the Kiambu County Commander, Mr. Ari Nuno, at Juja election, the Juja by-election be talk, we saw the militarization of that by-election. There was about over 1,300 police officers deployed at the polling center be talk. There were actually many and much more than the people who are supposed to be officiating the by-election in accordance with the electoral regulations be talk, including the police officers that are assigned for that particular exercise. They cease to be commanded by their commander. They are under the command of the returning officer of that particular by-election. In this case, the RO for Kiamba is going to be the commander of, he is the senior most officer in that election. He will commandeer security, he will commandeer his people, and therefore we do not want to see people like we saw last time, the commander of Kiambu police force coming to actually interfere with the tallying of the votes without being invited by the returning officer. So therefore we expect that our police officers, who are just normal Kenyans like us, are going to exercise restraint. That number one. We are expecting that the residents and the voters of Kiamba will exercise caution. They will vote peacefully without any skirmishes. We are praying that God is going to give us a good weather for that day, and we are praying that God is going to help the Kiamba people to make the right decision. It is their first time be talk in the history of Kiamba by election that Kiamba is going to elect Wanjiku mtu mwenye hana mkuanju. The first time, by the way. The first MP, Koinange, Muzee, Mkuanju. Jenga Karume, Mkuanju. Kimani Isharia, Mkuanju.
Avanapi Muchendu,
Mkuanju. Mkuanju. Huyu Koinange ameenda juzi, Mkuanju. So it is their very first time. That is a problem why Kiamba has ragged behind. Because they have been electing people who do not appreciate technology and the new way of doing things.
Right,
so therefore, I look at
so you see Kawajiko.
I look at the voters of the Kiamba people. We have done our part as the Hustler Nation. We have brought our candidate to you. We have sold his ideas. We have told you what we intend to do when he becomes the member of parliament for Kiambaa. We have done a very peaceful campaign. We have not insulted anybody despite being insulted. We have not caused violence despite the Jubilee wing trying to cause violence in Karori on Sunday, where they actually stopped a football exercise for the young people. And therefore, because we have now ended the campaign, it is up to you as the Kiambaa voter to make the right decision, to elect the right person who is going to take Kiambaa to the next level, and that person is John Jogona Wanjiko, the UDA candidate. Please wake up in the morning, and by 9, we should be done with this thing. And then we can actually now, in the evening, as the LRO announces the winner, we can go for the leader together.
Okay. Haya, atu afiririnda nilikuwa very man. Haya, NJAGI, I'm sure you've been observing the by-election campaigns in Kiambaa, and as a political participant, as an interested person in politics, I don't know what you have to make of the campaigns and what is it really about. I mean, as it escalates, when you were looking at what was happening yesterday on the last day of the campaigns or the last week, I've not been very keen because I've been away. But what I saw yesterday was kind of a culmination of a very intense campaign, and you would wonder. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of investment that has been put into into that campaign. There seems to be a serious euphoric reaction from the people that's almost fanatical. And as the people of Kiambaa go to the polls, what do you think this means to them? And what do you think is the outcome? Another question would be, when you find a ruling party that is already struggling to maintain its grip on its base and on its foundational political foundation, that is Kiambaa. Jubilee, for instance, is a party that has been born from a dairy. Transformed that body, is in power right now. It seems to be so desperate to get hold of this. And I'm seeing in one of the papers today, they're saying why Kiambaa is not the ordinary by-election. And when we say it's not our ordinary by-election, it's about the people, is it about the issues, or is it about the politics of the day? And what do you predict? What do you think is going to happen in Kiambaa and why?
Thank you. Very difficult question indeed, Gerald, because what is happening in Kiambaa is I can call it a bit satirical in my view, because if you look at the environment in Kiambaa, it is mostly the Jubilee party going head-to-head against the UDA candidates. Our history informs us that UDA, being the deputy president's party, is being seen largely by the public as a contest between the president and his deputy in terms of popularity in his backyard. So this election is quite significant because it will give a direction which the ground, what the ground feels about the election. You remember, an election is an expression of the sovereignty of the people. For me, I am more interested in a free, fair by-election. So emphasis again is on IEBC to ensure that they conduct a flawless election of the security apparatus. The security apparatus should not be used to either favor or be partisan to any candidate. Theirs is to provide security for all the voters. But fundamentally, again, when I listen to my colleague, Governor MUCHENDU, I hear that the people of Kiambaa have been complaining about issues to do with water, issues to do with poor infrastructure. Again, that begs the question, is electing a new member of parliament, will that be the solution to the problems of the people in Kiambaa? We as Free Kenya movement are looking at it from a different perspective. We are seeing that the country needs a structural readjustment to change the structure of governance. And that's why we are introducing the people's government as a fourth arm of government. The people's government, so the people of Kiambaa will have their own bunge la wananchis that they can use to address directly the issues at the ground for purposes of development. So that other than just changing the leader, we are interested in changing the structure of the state. And I wish the people of Kiambaa could also embrace the Free Kenya Popular Initiative, because it is only by empowering themselves that we can get true emancipation and redeem ourselves as a country. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's interesting to see. So let's wait and see how the people of Kiamba.
I just want to add something to respond to my brother who mentioned on the issue of the referendum law. It is very right that in the country we are yet to develop a referendum law. There is a bill that has already been proposed to Parliament that is yet to be discussed. I would also want to add our voice that this bill needs to be discussed and debated and passed. But also in the absence of a referendum law, Article 257 is very clear on how we the people can exercise our sovereignty to change the constitution. And I think that is not in question. The Third Way Alliance followed due process. Unfortunately, their bill ended up being shot down in the county assemblies, but they had followed the due process. BBI also attempted to follow due process, and other than the issues that have been outlined in court, I think they had gone a long way in that direction. So we should not shy away of saying that in the absence of a referendum law, we Kenyans cannot amend the constitution. We are expressing our sovereignty. So I would want to urge my brother Muchendu to join us in the Free Kenya movement and help us interrogate this proposal and see how we the people can come together to make the changes that are required. When you're talking about IBC, for instance, now we're talking about IBC, how do we enhance the independence of IBC? How do we give them more financial autonomy so that they can be free from the executive and undertake their mandate without fear nor favor? We can only do this by under popular initiative.
Okay.
Right? Now, like for Free Kenya, for instance, I want to give you a very practical example how we intend to make some changes in the electoral law. At the moment, it is said that the polling station is the final is the final tallying center. Right? But you could see what IBC did in the last election. They said that no organization or person is allowed to tally results until they are tallied by IBC at the Bomas of Kenya. Tallying of results should be done at the polling station, the final tally. And therefore, we want to change the law and propose amendments such that after the tallying has been done at the polling station, all independent observers and other actors, stakeholders, can pick the tallying from the polling station and start tallying for themselves. So in that way, we have an independent tallying by the media, we have an independent tallying by the civil society, we have an independent tallying by other observers, as well as the IBC. So at the end of the exercise, the IBC tally can be questioned, can be put to question. But in the event as we go to the next election, as things stand, be sure we are going to have another rigged election in 2022 and a possible reoccurrence of violence. The only way to stop this is by amending the electoral laws in the country. And that can only be done through a popular initiative.
Actually, Bitok, I would want to respond to him on the issue of tallying. I think probably not necessarily, because at the end of the day, the official tallying is by the IEBC. But having said that, that does not stop us from doing the tallying. Why? There is something called the polling station diary in the regulations of the IEBC. There's a booklet called the polling station diary. That polling station diary outlines what ordinarily is supposed to happen in a polling station. That is what we call a polling center, is what normally we call a stream. Because a polling station can have about 8 polling centers. And one of the requirements, one of the regulations as passed by the Election Act is that every ballot booklet has 50 ballots. So at the end of the 50th ballot of every book, the presiding officer in that polling station halts the voting, declares that booklet is done. The agents have to confirm that indeed, if the 50 ballots have been used, and for instance, there is no spoiled ballot, the same number should reflect at the KIMS kit. That is what we call the biometrics. The biometric kit must show that 50 people have voted. The manual register must show that 50 people have voted. And equally, when the ballots are counted, they must correspond. And therefore, the reason why that is given, Bitok, to agents at the finishing of every booklet, it is so that the agents who have been sent there can communicate to the people, to their seniors. Okay. Therefore, when their seniors receive that information, they can continue broadcasting. There is actually nothing that stops people from. In fact, we wanted to tell my brother that we have gone through the manual, the IEBC manual. We have gone through it with the IEBC, and we have to come to the conclusion. Number one, you remember IEBC actually give regulations and guidance to be followed in Kiamba by election. Some of the guidance they had published were actually illegal, and we discussed this. For instance, every candidate walikuwa wameambiwa I think how many months? 2 months before the election you are supposed to submit your party vote, but actually the candidate has until the day the RO is receiving nomination to present his candidature. Yes. That other regulations were not true. The person who actually announced in 2017 that only IEBC can tally results was actually, it was not true.
It was against the Constitution.
It was against the Constitution. It was against the Election Act, to be told.
Governor,
yes.
MUCHENDU,
yes.
We had an issue with the opening of the servers in the last election.
Yes.
Are there any reforms that have been made in this current Constitution
yes.
that can ensure that the issue of servers
yes.
will never be a problem? And how can we legislate this in the law so that it is not to the discretion of IBC to decide whether to open or
the
not?
Servers, yes.
But they have to be constitutionally mandated that any information or data that is presented to IBC
yes.
is public information.
Yes.
And the public has a right to access that information. Up to today,
yes, I'll tell you,
yes.
there has been a development because the system, the system of biometric recognition used in 2017, it was so analog. They have done away with it. They are now using something called KINS kit to recognize people. Now, the KINS kit is a digital register. Yeah, the THABS is a digital register that actually records everybody who has voted.
A biometric register.
Biometric register, yes. Everybody who has voted. The system that after they correct the Form 34s that announces the results that are also signed by agent, yes. They are uploaded into that system.
Yes.
So therefore, if today you go to court and you declare you want to see results for, say, for Deja Ward, yes. In Limuru constituency, they should be available at a yes. click of a button. But however, we need to actually amend the election law yes. to actually provide that IEBC do not decide. Because today, if I go to court, the courts are the arbitrators between the Wananchi and the different organizations that operate in this country. So therefore, if I demand to know how they have voted because I feel something went wrong, it is not up to the body that is being sued to decide whether to release them. Yes. It is the court that makes that declaration, because it is also not up to me to demand it directly to the IEBC. That is why I'm going to court. And therefore, if the court orders I be given access, that should be not, it's not what you call, for IEBC, it's not a discretion. It is a requirement that they must provide that information. But however, I must say, and I will say this without fear, it is very saddening. You are pushing for a referendum agenda that requires money. IEBC would require money to actually do it. They had requested for over 40 billion bitok. This government, Yakuru Yatani, with no arc of shyness, gave them 14 billion. Not even do half of what they wanted bitok. Okay. And they are expected to deliver free, fair, credible general election. An election in Africa is a costly affair. If you want to actually get a credible and a free, fair election, you have to fund that IEBC. Because at the end of the day, these are the tax of Kenyans. They are looking to elect leaders of their choice. And therefore, the government of the day has no choice but to provide money for that electoral body so that that electoral body can actually deliver on its mandate without any hitches. And therefore, we are looking forward that the government at the end of this year are going to bring what we call supplementary budget so that we can reallocate money and put more money to IEBC so that we can help them to deliver in their mandate. Because one of the rigging, I would say, one of the rigging in 2022 is making sure IEBC preparedness is in doubt and is in shambles. And that is not something as Kenyans we are ready to take. We want IEBC to be funded. We want IEBC to be free, appointments to be done fully, and we want a full board functional IEBC so that it can become a credible referee in these elections that are coming. So therefore, I think for IEBC, I would say, they have gone, they have tried to perfect the art of bringing a free election. I saw Chebukati in Juja talk, and there is another commissioner, I can't remember the commissioner's name, was very tough. And they have said no to militarization of election. Because one of the, like in Kiamba, I will tell you, there are a number of polling centers that are worrying us. Like Kiamba Chiefs Camp, it is no longer a Chiefs Camp. It is gazetted as a Chiefs Camp police station, a Chief Camp polling center. Okay. But it ceased from being a Chief Camp. It became a polling station, a police station. Voters will literally be voting in a police station.
Okay.
In a place called Ruaka Nasari. The biggest polling center in the entire Kiamba with over 8,000 voters registered there. They will be voting in a police station, actually. Okay. Literally. So these are some of the things we are saying that we need to empower IEBC Bitok so that it can be able to deliver, even those of us in the Hustler Nation, those of us in Jubilee, the members of parliament, the MCAs, the governors, the senators, please note, Uhuru Kenyatta is going home next year, August. He will not be here to guard and protect your votes. The only sure bet to ensure you are not rigged, whether you are in Jubilee or you are in Kieleweke or whatever, the best bet is to ensure that the referee is well sorted.
And that is the IEBC.
That is the IEBC, so that he can deliver a credible election.
Okay, so let's invest in ensuring that we have credible institutions that are going to give us credible elections. Now, moving on very quickly as we try and wind up on the conversations on politics. BBI seems to have hit a snag at the courts, and looks like every other person has moved. Mudavadi is talking about, I don't know, bottom up or middle out economics. Raila Odinga is talking about empowering the villages.
Mudavadi is confused.
Looks like people have moved away from the BBI debate.
Let me tell you the talk.
Also, I saw the Speaker of the National Assembly.
The day you will die, or the day I will die, people will come to my burial, they will bury me. Those who drink, they will go to drink, and the seat you used to sit with them, they will replace you immediately. Those who go to church, that position you used to occupy if you are an elder or the chairman, they will be a new chairman. Okay. That is the nature of life, Bitok. BBI is dead. The most unfortunate thing is that the family, the owners of BBI, are refusing to cooperate in the burial committee of BBI. They have actually left BBI in a morgue. And naturally, what will happen is that if you do not claim a body in a morgue,
the government will bury
it. So BBI is something dead in a morgue. The families are
neglected.
Despite the DNA showing who are the family members of BBI, they continue to disown it. Okay. That is a problem. So Mudavadi is quickly realigning himself to learn away from the shenanigans of BBI. Okay. The only person who is hanging on that reggae nightmare and hiyo CD si scratch actually ni kupasuka. Haiwezi cheza zaidi ya hapo. Hiyo reggae ilifika pahali kuna scratch, haiwezi pita hapo. Baba is still hanging on to that belief that BBI will somehow resuscitate. I mean, the day the court declared that the ruling is on 20th, 20th of August. Do you know that ruling will be 12 days into the final year of Jubilee government? You cannot amend a constitution within 1 year to the general election.
Okay.
One of the best-selling point BBI Bitok was creation of new constituencies and what have you. You cannot amend boundaries within 1 year and expect them to become effective at 2022.
But the constitution gives us new constituencies every 10 years.
The constitution. The constitution.
Why do I need to tell
clear.
you to give me a referendum so that I'll give me a constitution?
The constitution is very clear. There shall be 200 and what? 90 constituencies. Okay. And therefore, if there shall be 290 constituencies as enshrined in the constitution, you would have to do a referendum to actually expand the numbers of the constituencies. Now, the catchment here is, and this is what I'm fighting for IEBC to be given money, my brother. We have said in our constitution that the window to actually alter the boundaries, the constituency boundaries, is between 8 and 12 years since the promulgation of Constitution 2010.
Okay.
The 12 years are heading next year since we promulgated the Constitution 2010. Therefore, IEBC needs to start the delimitation of constituency boundaries now, so that they can become effective constituencies in 2027.
Okay.
Because even if we get new constituencies between the time, if they rule that we will have new constituencies on 20th, those constituencies cannot take effect. The constitution, they will not take effect in 2022. They can only take effect in 2027. And because of that window, before that window of amending amending the boundaries on reviewing the boundaries of the constituencies ends next year, IEBC needs to start rolling. Start doing, because we have said public participation is enshrined in our constitution. Okay. It is part and parcel of how we govern this country. So IEBC, they need to start the boundary reviews now. Okay. Not for the purposes of 2022.
For purposes of 2027.
For the purposes of 2027.
All right.
So this issue of
BBI?
people hanging on BBI, the president should also wake up.
Okay.
You know, I would rather, can you imagine if he spent that money to open those health centers and clinics he is opening? I mean, you reduce a national head of state to be opening clinics. Wanasema
but that is development.
Ati alikuwa ameenda kufungua level 3, level 4. For your information, level 3 is a dispensary. Level 4 is a health center. That is not even the work of the governor. The governor delegates that to the CEC, health, to go and open those things.
Does not mean that the president is hands-on.
No, but why must you concentrate on Nairobi Metropolitan when you are the head of state? You can be opening big projects.
Okay. All right, BBI, NJAGI, the Speaker of National Assembly, has made some very interesting comments that it's not possible to have a referendum before the elections. And he's saying, let the courts take their own sweet time, because even if they are going to give it a lifeline, still it will not be possible to have a referendum. Now, where does it leave BBI? Where does it leave the proponents of the people who have been on its back, who have been riding on it? And do we say it's surviving? Maybe.
Okay. I would want to say that first, to clear that the process of a referendum has no time limit.
Okay.
As long as the promoters of an initiative, attain the minimum threshold as set out in Article 257 of the Constitution, then they are entitled to a popular initiative. Okay. What am I saying is that even if it is 1 day to an election, as long as the promoters of a referendum have acquired the requisite signatures and gone through the proper procedures, then a referendum will be held. Whether it is a day, a month, a week, or a year to an election. It can even
what about the implementation?
It can even be held together with an election.
And how soon can you implement the changes?
Now, as for the changes, let's speak hypothetically. Assuming BBI case is overturned and in the Court of Appeal, and they are allowed to proceed with their referendum. In that case, what would happen? IEBC would go about to set up the referendum question. The referendum would come to the people to vote. Okay. Assuming the vote is a positive for BBI, what would happen? The 70 constituencies would be implemented after the 2022 elections, not before the 2022, because as he is saying, there is a time frame for delimitation of boundaries. Before the new constituencies are created, it requires a minimum of 1 year. That time has already elapsed. So therefore, assuming BBI goes through, the bill will go through, but the implementation of the 70 constituencies will be done thereafter. However, I am not very skeptical about BBI going through the Court of Appeal process. I have followed the proceedings in court, and as I said, I still believe that it is unconstitutional, null and void. But it does not mean that the proposals in BBI are all bad. That's why, as Free Kenya Movement, our position is in between the Hustler Nation and the BBI proponents, in that we are saying, yes, it is time for a referendum. This is a referendum moment that you and I, Bitok, should seize to change the constitution in favor of the people. Okay? And that is why Free Kenya is presenting that alternative to BBI, saying that as Kenyans, we can even pick the good that BBI had proposed and leave the bad things that were inside the bill. And then come up with our own issues. And that's what we have been doing. It is like, I'll give you a very clear example. When you talk of the judiciary, we're talking of independence of the judiciary, affirming them what you call the judiciary fund. How can we do this unless through a popular initiative? We are still talking about free and fair elections. That cannot happen unless we strengthen the laws. We are talking about enhancing devolution. I think in the people of Kiamba, they have seen what devolution has done for them. And they would want more resources be devolved. But how can they do that without a popular initiative? So what we are saying is that the need of a popular initiative is there. We agree, and we say that it is time for a referendum. However, it must be a people-driven referendum. And we already have one, and I request all the listeners and who are viewing us to kindly log on to www.freekenyasignatures.com right now and append your signature. We already have over 800,000 Kenyans who have supported this bill, and we are hoping to get up to 2 to 3 million Kenyans by end of this month. I think finally is just to talk about the issue of the economy. I think that's something that everybody is talking about. As a Free Kenya Popular Initiative, we have also come up with a patented economic innovation that is creating a secondary economic sector in this country that is going to bring the country out of the doldrums that we are in. In fact, we are the only popular initiative that has a proposal to turn around the economy. This is an innovation that we have developed over the years, and it is one that I've heard the Deputy President talking about a bottom-up economy. The question is, how do you implement a bottom-up economy? This solution that we have is one that is going to empower the people. We are going to raise more money for government without necessarily increasing taxes or over borrowing from the market. So these are the kind of solutions that Kenyans want to hear. And we have this.
So how do you do it? Because it's easy to say these things. It's easy to say, oh, we're going to create more money without burdening. Because let's be honest.
Okay,
I mean, the business of government is to collect taxes.
All right.
You cannot tell people the government will have money from nowhere.
Oh, yes. It is possible to.
So how are you going to get money without taxing people?
Yes. I can briefly, very briefly,
please,
because it's a bit intricate. It's a system called Dugwi. In this system, we are proposing to create an economic system based on a marketing innovation. How are we doing it? We are coming up with a system like what Safaricom has. Safaricom has a reward system called the Bonga Points. So for the first time, we are proposing to come up with an economic system that rewards the purchaser. So
Bonga Points for government.
But now it will be like a system like what we have, the national NHIF system. But now you have all the Bonga points that you're collecting as an individual going to one kitty in government. So for instance, you've paid for petrol today. You've put in 2,000 shillings. So as Bitok, you get your 20 points, right? You bought a loaf of bread, you bought milk. All these are purchases that you're making, but they don't go back to you as an individual. So in this reward system, every Kenyan will have their own reward points. And through these reward points, we'll be collecting a pool of billions of shillings in a day without necessarily increasing taxes nor borrowing from the banks. So it is a marketing innovation that can solve the problems in the country today by creating an alternative economic sector. This proposal is in the Free Kenya Popular Initiative for Kenyans to interact with.
So how does it become money? How does the points become money for government?
For instance, now, when you have your bonga points for Safaricom, let's say you have 1,000 points, you are told they are equivalent, you can buy a phone or you can redeem the points. So the same system, instead of, if you have 1,000 points, they're equivalent, say, to 100 shillings.
Okay.
At the end of the year, you have a dividend in your account. So assuming you have acquired 10,000 points in a year, collectively, okay? From the 10,000 points, you're giving a dividend. Okay. The 10,000 points, which is an equivalent of money, remains in the security with the government.
Okay.
This money will be used to be reinvested back into the state, in state corporations like what you call the Rivertex, Kikomi, to revitalize those industries, create jobs, turn around the economy. So we are creating a separate pool of resources, not coming from taxes, not being borrowed from the banks, but being generated from the purchasing power of the people. Okay. And this money will be reinvested back into the economy and therefore creating a secondary economic system that will supplement the trickle-down economy that we have.
Okay.
Yes.
So people make purchases, so it means we have a functioning economy already?
Yes. So you see, from the lowest level, once you, let's say you buy your airtime, that 100 bob, the 10 points that you get, instead of going to now Safaricom, they'll be taken to a national business corporation center.
Okay.
All right. Then collectively, what we get as a country, it is all pulled together as a sovereign fund. And that sovereign fund is then reinvested back into the economy.
Okay.
I think
interesting to say. But anyway, as you come in, as you come in, Muchendu, acha niwaambie, bunge la mwenye nchi. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi, nambari ni 0779801010. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi, 0779801010. Unaweza piga simu, tuambie mambo unafikiriaje. Nimesikia pia kuna uchumi ya bonga points hapa. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi, 0779801010. State of the Nation, 0779801010 or 779-800-010.
Bitok, that is a very complex proposal. I'm not sure it's practicable in Kenya, but when we talk about the hustler nations, bottom-up economy, Bitok, one of the major things that is stretching this country, Bitok, is infrastructure development and health. Those are the two major issues that are actually pushing these nations' loan limits. They are pushing these nations into the dogs because we are taking expensive loans, Bitok. We are taking loans that are not actually being actualized for their very purpose. And therefore, those are some of the things that needs to be looked at when we are talking about the economy.
Haya, wacha tusikie jamaa anasema jambo bunge la mwenye nchi.
Good morning, Jared.
Salama sana, habari ya leo?
This is Martin.
Yes, Martin Ngoni, mambo?
What has happened bana? Umepotea bana, but it's glad that umerudi.
Hata Mungu nitumie Lucozade bana. Nyinyi ni watu bure sana. Ningetumia ile jina nyingine nasikianga kwa street lakini wacha niachane na. Hata Lucozade na supu hata hakuna bwana.
Usijali tutakutafuta.
Haya, tuambie umesikia kuna bonga points ya kuendesha serikali.
So I'd like just to congratulate Muchendu. Wamefanya kazi nzuri UDA. That thing is coming UDA ways.
Thank you very much, my brother.
And Muchendu, habari ya leo. Actually, tulikuwa na wewe siku moja hapo Kiambaa Gashie. Sijui kama unanikumbuka.
Umesema jina ni nani?
Martin Ngoni.
Yes, I remember you.
Yeah. So anyway, about Kiamba, I think that one is Jubilee can forget about it.
Correct.
I think it's gone. The candidate is strong, but the party is weak. So you see, and people...
The party is not, my brother, the party is not weak. It is dead.
It's dead?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the proper word.
Exactly.
In terms of BBI, I think we've had this conversation too many times. I think the BBI is done. And people have moved on. If BBI was a popular initiative, tungekuwa na Zuma situation in Kenya. Initiative is gone down the drain, so we want it back. But nobody is caring about BBI because gas imepanda 350 shillings. How are you going to tell the Kenyan individuals that BBI is going to change their life, and they are now feeling the pinch of the cost of living? And when you tell them about increasing the size of the government, then they look at you and they wonder, are you living in Kenya? So I think that one is done and dusted. About IEBC, I think we really need to ensure that we can constitute the IEBC as soon as possible, so that we can be assured of a very good general election, because we don't want the constant violence that come with the IEBC. And then one thing, just before I go, Gerard.
Yes.
I want people to know this, and I want everybody to hear this, or everyone that is hearing this program today.
Okay.
The IEBC situation has exposed Raila as a person who only cares about himself.
Okay.
Because the reason as why we ended up with a handshake, the March 9th handshake,
yes,
is because of a bungled election.
Okay.
And down 2 years down the line, Baba has never been concerned about the state of IEBC. So you see, and when somebody comes back and says that we need to change the constitution so we can have a prosperous country, and the main body that was in charge of the election was not properly constituted and could not manage the election properly, that could be the first agenda that he could approach the minute he had the handshake. But what did he do? He went ahead and enjoyed the luxuries of the government, because that's what he's all about. It's about his self-interest. You see? And one thing I'd like the country to know is that Baba has always been in a situation whereby his personal interests have always been just close to the interests of the nation. So the first thing he could have done when he had the March handshake is, how do we constitute the IEBC? Because the IEBC has been having 3 commissioners, and Baba has been in government through the handshake, and it never hit him that, okay, you know what? The main thing that led us to having the handshake was because the IEBC was not in good condition. Now we are 12 months to a general election, and the IEBC has not even been properly constituted. You see, that really shows us which kind of person that Baba is. And I can promise everybody, Baba should never be allowed to hold any kind of position, and more so the presidency. What are to opposition?
Okay.
Asante.
Haya, sana Martin Gode kutoka Kikuyu. Asante. Haya, bunge la mwananchi 779-800-010 or 779-800-010. 779-800-010 or 779-800-010, State of the Nation.
So the talk I was telling you, some of the things that have strained this country is taking very expensive loans. It is what has made sure that we are not at par with other nations that we were at par with about 30 years ago. And I have personally, I have 2 proposals that I think would save this country from taking expensive loans and dealing with the issues of health in this country. Bitok, if you can be honest, you are probably now in maybe over 20 WhatsApp groups for raising medical funds. Yes, because especially the corona effects. But let me tell you, Bitok, why I think this country needs to change regulations. It is absurd, it is crazy that today the president is paid how much?
I don't know. I've not asked him.
It's around 1.5 million. I want to bet this or thereabout. 1.5 million. MUCHENDU, who was one time working for the Kiambu County government, was being paid 100,000.
And resigned.
Yes, and resigned. I actually resigned my job.
Why did you resign?
No, let's not go back there. I already said that on this show. I don't intend to repeat myself.
Okay.
I am paid 100,000, but let me surprise you, Bitok, that today we have received one of the expensive loans we have received in this country is from China.
Okay.
Exim Bank of China. We have taken a loan from the savings of the people of China. The loans we have received from that bank are derived from the savings done by the Chinese people.
Okay.
It is like we are taking loan from the NSSF of China to come and build, and we are paying a very high interest rate on that loan. Now, let me surprise you. Come to Kenya. A president is paid 1.5 million shillings, and MUCHENDU is paid 100,000 shillings. It will not surprise you that both of us pay 400 shillings to NSSF.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Bitok. What I am saying is, the least paid person in Kenya, I think it's 14,630 shillings, is paying 400 to NSSF. Why don't we convert that 400 into the percentage of the entire salary? What is the percentage of 400 in 12,630? Say, for instance, we find that the percentage is 3%. We say every Kenyan who is earning a salary will be paying 3% of his salary as savings. We would actually have 7 times of what NSSF is collecting today, Bitok.
Okay.
And therefore, I'll give you an example. The road from Rironi going to Mau Summit that is being proposed to, they are proposing to do it, is costing 100 billion shillings to do from Rironi to Mau Summit. We have already taken a loan that is actually asking for, I think, 17% of interest. What if we ensured everybody who is employed pays 3% of his salary, regardless of how much you are paid? Whether you are paid $1 million, whether you are paid 10,000, your 3% goes to NSSF as part of your saving. We would actually be saving over 700 billion shillings every year in this country. Subsequently, Bitok, government would not go to China to actually borrow 100 million, a very expensive loan to come and do a road. What would we do? Go to NSSF.
Okay.
Take a loan from NSSF. That interest government pays goes to my saving. So if I was to receive 400,000 when I retire, I will probably receive 500,000 because my money has been taken by government with interest. That is one way of dealing with the issues of taking expensive external loans.
Okay.
The beauty about taking internal loans is that that interest remains in this country, and we do it. Point number 2. NHIF. The government the other day, through the president, launched what is called universal health care. A mockery of the people.
Oh.
You can't launch universal health care when institutions do not have capacity to handle serious cases.
Okay.
Most of the time we talk. Do you take your NHIF to go and be checked at homa? Uangaliwe homa? No, you go over the counter, unanunua dawa. So that NHIF card will become useful when you have serious case that is demanding more money. That is where insurance comes in.
Okay.
And if you go to a hospital that do not have services that you require, then that universal health care becomes useless because you have an HIF card that cannot help you because government does not have fund to actually fund these hospitals. So what am I proposing? Today, a civil servant who is being paid 45,000 shillings a month is paying either 1,200 or 1,700 as the NHIF contribution. The president, who is paid almost 2 million actually, is paying same 1,700.
Okay.
What if we convert the least person who pays money, employed person who pays least money and NHIF, I think it's 1,200. Let us convert that 1,200 into the percentage of that person's salary. And then we declare in this country that you are 7% of every pay you receive, regardless of how much you are paid, goes to NHIF. I'm telling you, we will not be doing these harambes for corona people, 1.5, 2 million, and all those things. Okay. And to surprise you, the things I am proposing, Bitok, do not even require parliament. They just require the CEOs of those institutions to actually change and gazette those regulations.
Right.
But you have a government that has its priorities turned down. The only thing Uhuru thinks is about BBI, is about opening clinics, it's about opening health centers. But today, if you have someone who has a serious injury that requires attention, you would have to go far. That health center is important. That dispensary is important, but we need to empower our hospitals so that they can be able to deal with highest cases. And that is why I always say I may not have anything else to say about Governor Nyoro, who I resigned from his administration. But when it comes to health matters, Kiambu is doing well. It is doing well. So therefore, I am saying those are some of the things we need to do, Bitok. We need to have checks and balances on how money is. Because one of the problem, can I tell you, the problem is not taking loans. The country that has the highest loan in the world is Japan.
But why is the economy?
That's what I'm telling you. They don't have a problem with government taking more money. Because if the government is taught to account for the loan it took, they can show you. Do you know in Japan, government takes money and loans to companies that are making vehicles, to continue making vehicles and continue creating their export market. But here in Kenya, ukichukua loan, inakuja tuseme ni ya kutengeneza SGR, Bitoka kona briefcase company, kwa sababu sheria yetu inasema 30% of that company must be owned by a Kenyan. So therefore, 30% of that loan kwanza inaingia kwa briefcase za watu. Watu wa Jubilee wanashinda huku wakitupigia kelele kina Murathe and whoever. They are the briefcase company owners in this country. They continue to earn illegal money in this country. So, shida sio kuchukua loan.
Opinion of Muchendu.
Shida ni vile unatumia hiyo loan. Today nikienda kwa my banker ananiambia, Muchendu, account yako ni mzuri, tunaweza kukuwekea million. You just need to sign these 2 documents. So in 5 days, I have $1 million shillings in my account, which I had not planned for. The next thing, utajikuta umetengeneza safari ya kwenda Dubai. Unaenda, unakula, unarudi. There is nothing painful Bitok like paying for a loan that you know did not help you. That is the pain of Kenyans.
Talking about priorities, and finally, UON has increased the fees by 100%, reviewed the school fees by 100%. University of Nairobi has reviewed the school fees by 100%. NJAGI.
Yes. First, I want to go back to the issue of the cost of basic and essential commodities.
And actually, on the issues of on your proposal, as James Mwenda says, please tell Bob. Please tell Bob. Was he essentially talking about what he is essentially talking about is government debt? You should also read Safaricom financial statements. Bonga points are treated as creditors. Felix Kiprono says this story ya bonga points inanichanganya kidogo. James Mwenda says I think Bob has been listening too much to himself. Okay, that's interesting. Right.
The issue of the economy is not an issue that we can break down in such a short notice. But again, I want to go back to the basics of the Free Kenya Popular Initiative. One, the cost of basic and essential commodities has gone up in the country over the years. There is no rationalization to the increase of taxation vis-a-vis how the money is being spent. So one of the issues and our main agenda as the Free Kenya Popular Initiative is to abolish taxes on some selected basic and essential commodities. We are talking about abolishing taxes on petrol, diesel, kerosene, sanitary towels, electricity, some of the basic that each and every Kenyan requires to have a decent and comfortable living. Remember that Article 43 of the Constitution states, gives some of the things that the government should provide for the people, including water, housing. But these are the rights that are ignored because there is no one to put the government on check. I want to agree with my brother Muchendu on the issue of governance in the country. There is a bit of lacuna as we speak. There is no one speaking on behalf of Wanjiko. You have the opposition leader singing the same language with government. Then you have a divided government whereby you have a president and a deputy who is not reading from the same script. What I find a bit I find a bit hypocritical is when I hear arguments of people saying that the Jubilee administration is failing, but then again we divorce the deputy president from the Jubilee administration. If the Jubilee administration is failing, the deputy president and the president are equal members of that administration. So I don't think it is right to say that President Uhuru is a failure, and then divorce that failure from the deputy president. When we talk allow me to finish. When we talk of infrastructural projects being one of the reasons why we have a serious deficit in the economy, I remember that the Jubilee president and deputy were very much together in the first administration, and they went and undertook serious infrastructural projects. The SGR came during the first term. The Galana Kulalu, we had the promise of stadiums, which were never delivered. We have the laptops that money was taken, but nothing was delivered. We have all these scandals that came up during the first administration. Therefore, for my brother to exonerate the deputy president from the ills of the president, to me, it is playing with the psychology of Kenyans. That said, I also put blame squarely on the opposition, because it is the role of the opposition to check the government of the day, whereas the leader of opposition has failed to do so many a times, especially in this second administration of the Jubilee government. So for us, from where we sit as a people, as a Free Kenya Popular Initiative, we are saying that a time has come for the ordinary citizens now to create a new narrative. And that's why we are coming up with what we call the People Power movement, the Free Kenya movement, which is a movement of the people, by the people, and for the people. One of the things we are advancing as Free Kenya is changes to the constitution. And I want every listener who is here kindly to take your time and log on to www.freekenyasignatures.com. Everything that we are trying to do is in that website, and they can interrogate what we are doing as we move forward. Secondly, I wish to request them to append their signatures. We only have about 200,000 left to get to 1 million. And thereafter, we're going to be calling for a national convention at the Bomas of Kenya to look at the way forward for the Free Kenya Popular Initiative. I think that said, something else of very much concern to us is the COVID-19 protocols. Yeah, we believe this is a serious issue. We are also very supportive of the protocols, how Kenyans should behave. But also we are seeing that there seem to be unequal treatment of the society in regards to the COVID-19 protocols. Those who are in the government are banning public rallies, but they themselves are organizing themselves at night. We are seeing the president moving around the country in public gatherings. So they should also use the same rules that they're setting for the people. If you're stopping public gatherings, that should not be allowed for some rallies and for others. With that, I want to appeal to Kenyans that we are ready to move this country to a new direction. Kindly give us your signature only, and by the end of this month, we shall come back to Kenyans to present them with a solution. A practical solution.
Haya, Elias Sirma says, I want to be part of this Free Kenya. Okay, you can go to www.freekenyasignatures, I think. .org. Tafadhali kimbia pale. .com. .com or okay. www.freekenyasignatures.com uweze kuwa mojawapo ya safari. Haya, as we move, as we close.
I take my brother to Article 147 of the Constitution of Kenya. That brings out the function of the deputy president. One says the deputy president shall be the principal assistant of the president and shall deputize for the president in the execution of the president's function. Number 2, the deputy president shall perform the function conferred to him by this constitution and any other function of the president as the president may assign. Number 3, subject to 134, when the president is absent or is temporarily incapacitated or during any other period that the president decides, the deputy president shall act as the president. Number 4, the deputy president shall not hold any other state or public office. The job description of the deputy president is very well outlined in the Constitution. He cannot do any function unless assigned, because the Constitution, it says any other function assigned to him by this Constitution. There is no other.
If I may ask you, my brother, in the first term of the Jubilee administration, the deputy president had half of the government. He had ministers under him. Allow me. would he have used that opportunity, assuming the Ministry of Energy was under Honorable David Chirchir,
Yes.
okay, who was a chief agent for Jubilee during the campaigns? Now, would they have initiated a bottom-up approach at the time, or would they have come up with a hustler narrative at the time and came up with provisions for energy? For instance, you go to Kiamba Ward with the Ministry of Energy, come up with a solution which the common man could have used to empower himself. But now we're talking about 8 years down the road, you're coming with this hustler narrative.
Yes.
Why wasn't the hustler narrative in the first term?
Talk what I will not do here.
And where is the bottom-up economy?
Let me finish.
Yes.
What I will not do here, I am not going to peddle street politics that we do out there, Bitok. Because the constitution is very clear, Bitok, and you know it. Who is the appointing authority of the cabinet? It's the president who is the appointing authority. People have this notion that the deputy president had half of the government. The deputy president always serves at the discretion of the president. That is the constitution. It may probably the first time the president felt he felt good giving that discretion to the deputy president. But make no mistake, the appointing authority of the cabinet is one.
Agreed.
And that is not the DP. Is the president, the appointing authority. That is number one. Therefore, saying that William Ruto had half of the government, that is the street politics we peddle out there. It is not backed up by law. It is not backed up by any registration. Therefore, the only person responsible for appointing cabinet is His Excellency the President. Any other function you may have seen the deputy president perform, it is at the discretion
of the
president. That is a fact. And therefore, when we came to the second term, the president decided not to involve the DP in the running of the government. How do you expect the DP to address that? And his roles in parliament is defined by 3 different articles in the constitution.
Doesn't he have an option of resigning?
Why should you resign in a government that you fought so hard to fight?
We saw in 2015 that the Prime Minister Raila Odinga resigned from cabinet when he disagreed with Kibaki. It has been done
the
before.
Prime Minister did not resign.
His Excellency Jaramogi Odinga resigned from
the
cabinet.
The Prime Minister did not resign.
If the Deputy President disagrees
the Prime
with
Minister
the President,
did.
the honorable thing would be
please,
to
my
resign.
brother, the Prime Minister did not resign. That is not true.
We
know he did not resign.
What happened?
He did not resign. He moved. Did he ever resign?
He walked out of government.
No, the Prime Minister was the Prime Minister until the Jubilee
I'm not talking of the Prime Minister. I'm talking of Raila Odinga.
Raila Odinga was fired.
At the time he was with in the first
please,
government of 2002.
I can tell you.
Yes.
Raila Odinga was the Minister for Roads.
Yes.
In the Kibaki government.
He
did not leave government.
After the referendum in 2005.
After the referendum, Kibaki fired them. Don't make mistake of using the word resigning. I've been in this politics to know that the entire rot was fired by Kibaki.
In the constitution of 2005, the president could have fired the deputy, any person. But in this case, the president cannot fire the deputy president. He's protected by the constitution.
That's what I'm telling you. That is what I'm telling you. Politically, why do you think that it is only the deputy president who should appease his accusers by resigning from government? You do not expect the DP who actually fought to be in government to just wag his tail and leave government that he so worked for. Why do you think? Why do people think that resignation is the best option out? You do not. Today,
according to the Political Parties
President,
Act, my brother, according to the Political Parties Act,
yes,
when you start propagating agendas of another political party, automatically that is cause for disqualification.
The president is in NASA.
Listen, yes. That political...
The president is in NASA.
Listen. The Political Parties Act he is quoting Bitok. No. The Political Parties Act he is quoting Bitok provides a roadmap of removing a person who is propagating politics of another party. And the starting of that roadmap, there has to be an accuser.
Okay.
Has there been an accuser who has gone to political parties tribunal to accuse the DP? The DP is propagating UDA, which is a co-signatory of the Jubilee Coalition. Therefore, their ideas are the same. They have signed a pact with that party. Now, when you are telling me about someone propagating the issues, you saw the day the president who has no business being in NASA trying to be the Kofi Annan of NASA. That is a guy we should chase out of Jubilee for propagating politics of a party that is not an affiliate of the Jubilee party.
Okay, guys, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you. So there are two topics you guys have avoided.
Gerald,
One of them is EON, the fees, the double fees in the EON, which I thought someone like you from Free Kenya would be very keen.
The Kenyans youth should know that this tax holiday was fake. By now, they should know that. Which tax holiday if the school fees that is supposed to get you a degree so that you can start a job is being doubled? The sheer nonsense. And I keep saying, the minister for education has no business being a minister. Magoha is everything gone wrong in the Ministry of Education. He is scary. By looking at him, he is very scary. He makes scary decisions.
MUCHENDU,
That guy
sanitize.
should not be anywhere near the Ministry of Education. Let me tell you, we are having a rooming crisis, my brother, of MCAs being required and MPs to have degrees. The qualification authority, the Kenya Qualification Authority is in that ministry.
Okay.
We have started it's called a CBC. The CBC inasema ukifika hapa bebe ushidwe na masomo ya degree, you can go to the technical part. That is one. Hiyo ni ministry imesema. The Qualification Authority na IEBC on the other side wamesema wewe kama hauna degree, you cannot become a reader. What of those kids who will not get the degree na CBC ndio imewapeleka to the technical part? They do not qualify to become. I'm telling you, Magoha is just confused. He's just an idiot given a very serious ministry of our kid with absolutely no idea how to run. Let him go to university, back to university and do lecture. Let him leave the administrative duties to people who understand them. In fact, I miss the days Matiang.
You want Matiang again?
No. I'm saying the day he was the Minister of Education, you can't really accuse Matiang of having made a silly decision in that ministry.
You'll miss him in Kiamba. You'll miss him in Kiamba. Haya, tukifunga kazi. South Africa also is burning down. Africa, I don't know, whatever is going on in South Africa. But I just give you an because we are done. We should be finishing up. The issues of school fees. What do you make of this? I mean, at the point where you are telling young people, oh, we are promising you this, we're coming with all these goodies. When you pass, when you do this, we're going to give you free, I don't know, is it called memoratarium or materiarium, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Free taxes. I mean, what is it? What's it, man?
I think the youth have been taken for a ride in this country. If you look at
and they're enjoying it.
If you look at the proposals in the BBI referendum, we had an issue with it saying that youth should be given a tax holiday, and the youth should be, that is relegating the youths at the back seat.
Okay.
What we had done on the issue of education, we have proposed to make education universal under the Free Kenya Popular Initiative. We now have universal health. We're talking of universal education, whereby we shall have a free primary, secondary and university and tertiary education for those students who are able and willing to learn. This already is under Article 43 of the Constitution, only that it is not implemented by the government. So as a push for a referendum, we actually want to legislate and make amendments to the Constitution to make it mandatory for any government that comes after this one to provide free primary, secondary and education and university education for our children. So one of the things you can do as a Kenyan is to append your signature on www.freekenyasignatures.com so that we can make education universal and free for all, because this is a fundamental right for every Kenyan. Further to that, for the young people of this country, please note that it is only you that can deliver yourself. One way that we can do this is by empowering young people. Sign up to the Free Kenya Popular Initiative. It is the only way young people are going to get true emancipation. I don't want to say more than that, but I think the issue of loans to university students is not, especially at this time of COVID-19, should not be entertained. This is a time when we should be giving subsidies. It's a time when government should be giving tax breaks, not to increase taxes on basic and essential commodities, at the same time subjecting people to curfews, lockdowns that do not scientifically show whether we are actually helping in the fight against COVID. we are actually suppressing the economy with the curfews and the lockdowns. At the same time, you're increasing taxes on the common man. At the same time, you want them to pay school fees. You want them to, it is a system that is not in touch with the wishes of Wanjiko.
Okay.
Yes.
Asante sana. Thank you so much for coming, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you, Muchendu, after a long time. And NJAGI.
Yeah, you can bet I'm back full time from next week.
Karibu
we are
sana.
done with Kiamba.
You should come. We analyze Kiamba on.
I'm telling you, we'll be coming here to celebrate. In fact, I am promising the voters, because we are winning in Kiamba, I'm bringing the new MP Kiamba here. Exactly.
Okay.
Kwanza tucheze firirieda kidogo. And then because I will tell you, Bitok, this is life. Okay. It's unfortunate that we are going to have a member of parliament who is only going to serve 1 year. Unfortunately, this is the constitutional issues there. Because if it was up to me, if an MP dies 2 years before the election, I will not hold an election. I would actually do what the Americans do. If a governor is incapacitated in America, or there is what you call a lieutenant governor taking over the remainder of that term, so that we do not tire Kenyans with the campaigns and the by-elections. Those are the things now we can join hard with the proposal so that we can change things.
The number 2 who was number 2 in the last election.
Exactly. Can't take over.
Exactly.
All right, but that's not democracy. That's not democracy. But anyway, thanks. If Kariri Njama,
democracy is not just about going to the ballot. Democracy is also looking at, does it compromise other things like the economic activities in Kiamba? Have they been compromised by extensive campaigns? You look at holistically. Democracy is something holistic. It's not just going to the vote. People miss it. Is something you look at. What is the effect of doing that ballot there? Because today, if you go to vote in a violent nation, is that democracy?
All right. Good question. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure having you. If also Kariri Njama wins, bring him here.
Kariri Njama will not win.
No, I've said that is democracy. If he wins, if Kawajeko wins, bring him here with Ririnda. If Kariri Njama wins, bring him with Ririnda.
After we defeat Kariri Njama, we'll still bring him here so that we can usher him back to the Hustler Nation.
Hi, it's gonna be Ririnda on Wednesday. See you tomorrow on Siasa Wednesday as we analyze the conversation that we'll be having tomorrow in Kiamba. The by-elections that are coming up. I'm told the by-election is on Thursday. It's on Wednesday, not Wednesday. Thursday. So kesho tunapiga siasa bado on Siasa Wednesday. On Thursday tunaleta na rais ambaye anakuja pia anaitwa Ruben Kigame. He's running for president. Now we have a new entrant in politics.
The Kenyan is Kigame comes from, is it Uasin-Gishu?
Yes, comes from
Uasin-Gishu. Do you know the motto for Uasin-Gishu County?
He comes from Western Kenya, but he lives in Uasin-Gishu.
He lives in Uasin-Gishu most of his life.
Yes.
And they say Uasin-Gishu is a county of possibilities.
Yes.
Yes.
So he's one of the champions that is joining in on the presidential race. So you're going to have him on Thursday. Atuambie ni maona gani ambayo ako nayo kwa Kenya. I'm on Thursday. Even me, I'm launching my presidential campaign very soon. Njagi, what were you saying?
Ya mwisho ni kuambia wana...
Hiyo unalipia sasa. Ulikuwa umefunga.
Ya mwisho ni kuambia wana members wetu wa Free Kenya Movement ambayo wamekuwa katika kila kona ya nchi hii. Wale laki 8 ambao wametupatia signature yetu. Tunafurahi sana na tunawashukuru kwa kuwa na imani na vuguvugu ya Kenya Huru, Free Kenya Movement. Tunawasihi wale ambao wa Kenya wanasikiza wazidi kutupatia sahihi zao, tufikishe sahihi ambazo wanahitaji kule IBC, tuweze kuleta mabadiliko ya kweli ambayo itapatia mwananchi nguvu. Na tunasema tukimalizia people power, higher power.
People's power, higher power. Yeah. The sovereignty of the people
is always on top. The people are sovereign.
Okay, we the people. Dr. Ojwang says, Pinyo wacho. Tomorrow is coming. The people have said. Until tomorrow, see you on Siasa Wednesday. This is a tackle and it ends now. Bye-bye.